Welcome back. Continuing coverage of Bearcats football here on Bearcats TV. Tom Gelehrter, happy to be with you for part number 2 of our spring football recap with head coach Tommy Tuberville. Coach, we covered a lot of topics in part 1, and I mentioned the wide receivers. A ton of depth there. Biggest problem for you guys is going to be deciding which 3 or 4 guys to put on the field at the same time, right?
Well, it's a good problem to have, and you're exactly right. We've got talent at wide receiver, and I tell you, Blake Rowland, our receiving coach, and Eddie Grant, our offensive coordinator, made it a priority when we got here, not just the ones we had here, but go out and find some more. We've got some guys that can make plays, that can make big plays after the catch. Mikael McKay, for one, a guy that just kind of shows up for us last year, and I think he caught more touchdown passes than anybody on the team, and he didn't have anything close to the receptions, but he's very productive. You have Johnny Holton now that's here as a junior college player that set out a year and has 2 years remaining. He's probably the fastest guy that we have on the team. Jeremy Graves had a good year. Nate Cole had a good year. Chris Moore is a guy that probably as we speak, is the best receiver we have overall. We moved Ralph Abernathy to wide receiver. Shaq is also playing with Ralph Abernathy at the slot position. Max Morris. I mean, we can go on, and then we've got a receiver coming in that was one of the top receivers in the country in junior college that I've known for 4 or 5 years that I signed earlier before I got here. His name is Casey Gladney, and he can run. He can play outside receiver, inside receiver, and I'm just anxious to get him on campus because if he's improved any at all from what he did in high school through junior college, then we're truly going to have a tough time getting them all on the field. But it's going to be fun to watch all this. It's going to be an area that, you know, where you got a Chris Moore and all these guys that are fighting for positions. Then competition is going to make everybody better. Well,
and it's also a situation where you're going to have to decide at times to take one of those wide receivers out of the game, put a tight end in, maybe DJ Dowdy, maybe Tyler Cogswell, or maybe Shai Alonso, who was a wide receiver last year. Now he's a very big guy out there, and you've been using him at tight end as well.
Yeah, not a lot of people use a tight end much anymore, but I'm a true believer in it. I think we'll use them at tight ends. We'll use them at a blocking position like we did last year, move them in motion. I like to go 2 tight ends a lot, but as we speak, we don't have enough depth to say we can go into a game and have a 2 tight end formation. If one of them gets hurt, then who goes in for his position? So going to have to be a lot of work done between now and 2 days to see what we can do at the tight end position. But Tyler Cogswell, a freshman from American Heritage in Miami, came here as a quarterback. We recruited him as a tight end, but he was a quarterback. I think he's going to be the prototype of what we really need. He's just got to grow up, get bigger and stronger. And as you said, DJ Dowdy is very athletic. We just don't have the physical tight end like we had in Blake Annan last year. And so that'll come. We just got to keep working at it and working along, you know, those lines with Mark Noodleberg, our new tight end coach, who did a good job this spring of just grinding those guys every day to get them mentally tough.
Tough spring for Coach Hiller. A lot of guys on the offensive line either had the green jersey on, meaning they were limited, or they were on the sideline altogether. Biggest key for that group is getting healthy.
You know, for some reason since we've been here, that's been a problem. And last year we go into the season, that was our strength. You know, we've got a 5th-year senior center, 2 5th-year senior guards, Bujnak and Sam Longo, and all 3 of them got hurt during the year. And it really affected our season. I think we could have won the conference had we stayed healthy in that offensive line, because that was a strength of keeping the running game going or passing game going. It's just the luck of the draw. We just had we had foot problems. You know, guys just unfortunately broke bones in their feet, both the guards, and then the center got hurt in 2 days, had a knee injury. So Darren Hiller's gone back to the drawing board for the last 8 or 9 months and tried to put together an offensive line. We've recruited more depth there. Offensive line is positioned that when you come into a college atmosphere, that's probably the toughest position to play as a freshman, because there's so many things you've got to learn, so many different techniques, and then you got to go on a snap count, then you got to learn the guy next to you. So it's more of an experienced position. We've got some guys that I think can play. Of course, Bond, our center, was thrown into the mix last year after we lost our center in 2 days. He had a good season, not a great, but spring I think he really came on. He learned more about playing the game of center, and he's had some young guys on both sides. We lost Anger in spring practice because of foot injury. I think Layfield really made a move up because he was able to practice with the first team more because of some injuries in the offensive line. But all those guys on there, you know, have really worked hard. It's like putting the pieces to the puzzle together. You've got to have 10 guys, not 6, not 7. You've got to have 10 that can work well together. And so we'll work hard through the summer and through 2-a-days to get that group ready to go in the fall.
You mentioned one of the guys you're excited to get here on campus is Casey Gladney, the wide receiver. Another recruit that Bearcats fans are excited to see is Kevin Muhan. And, of course, his brother Silverberry's already here, and he's a young man who feels like he just continues to develop into maybe being one of those next great Bearcats defensive players.
You know, Kevin Muhan might be one of the best and most highly sought-after players that I've signed in the last 10, 12 years, and I've had some good ones. Now, he's got a great pedigree. He's size, he's fast. You know, he's a linebacker. He's not a defensive end like Silverberry, but he's got a passion for football, and he'll be a guy that'll come in and work probably outside at linebacker position and inside linebacker position, try to learn his way through. We'll see how far along he is because physically he's going to be ready to play, but we've got to get him mentally ready to go to see if he can help us this year, and I think he can. So we're excited about Silverberry being here. I tell you, he had a very good year last year playing defensive end. We've changed a few techniques around. I think that will help him. We've got Jarrell Hartsfield, who's back, but he had a foot injury in the spring. He didn't go through a whole lot. But you've got a lot of younger guys. Mark Wilson, I think, is going to be is kind of the prototype defensive end for us, like a big linebacker that can run. But then you've got young guys inside. The guy that made the most progress in spring practice, I think, at any position was Mitchell for us at defensive tackle. I think he really came on, and Pace also came on at defensive tackle. But again, there's a long time before we get to August the 10th and 2-a-days, and all those guys have to do a lot of work in the weight room and getting ready to go for a long season next year.
A whole nother month of workouts before September 13th when you take the field at Paul Brown Stadium. One more position group question, and that's, of course, your place kicker. Tony Miliano probably opened the spring at number 1, and Andrew Gantz came on very strong, and by that scrimmage at Paul Brown Stadium a week and a half ago, he was the guy taking those first team snaps. Did he kind of get the edge over Tony after 15 practices?
I think it's pretty close to being even. Both have to get better. I mean, we're very inconsistent in punting last year with John Lloyd, and he knows he's got to get better. Tony knows he's got to be more consistent. Tony tends to, like I do on a drive sometimes, he comes over the ball, and doing that makes the ball go left. And he'll work hard this summer on his fundamental and techniques, and all the guys punting. You know, we're just looking for a right combination to make us better, because to me, you got to get those points when you need a field goal, and you have to get that field position when your punter comes in the game. We're going to work a tremendous amount in the off season on with all our punters and kickers, and then when we get to 2-a-days, that's going to be a priority for me, is our return games, our coverage teams. We lost the Belk Bowl last year because we could not cover a kick. We just were, and a lot of it had to do with our punters and kickers, but it's a team sport. You can't point at one person, so we got to get better at all those positions.
So spring football is in the books. Graduation is right around the corner. Guys will be in finals next week. What's the schedule like for your student athletes now moving forward? Because like you said, August 10th is still about 4 months away.
Yeah, we get through early. We have about 2 more weeks of classes, and then we go into our semester test that week. Then they get a couple weeks off. We come back. I think we start somewhere around May the 11th or May the 12th, summer school. We'll have 50 opportunities for workouts. They're not mandatory, but between now and August the 10th, there's 50 opportunities to lift weights, to get better. A lot of it's on their own, and that's how you make yourself. You know, when the lights are not on, nobody's around, how hard are you going to work? And so that's what we're asking our players, that I give exit reports to each player one at a time. They come in, we sit down, we talk about academics, we talk about family, we talk about their position, we talk about everything that's going on around their life, and then try to get it in perspective to make themselves better, to forget a lot of things around them, and make sure that they're hungry enough to make themselves better as we get into the next 3 months of workouts.
Well, and while those guys get ready for those workouts and finish up their academic portion here at UC, you and your staff, it's recruiting time. The doors open up and time to hit the road, right?
It's never ending, and as we speak, our coaches are on the road going to high schools, mostly in Ohio, in this area. Right now we go early, and we go around, we talk to coaches about prospects, not just for next year, but for the couple of years before that, what they've seen in their league. We try to get as many tips and as information on as many players as we can, and then that will lead up to our camps, which we'll have our football camps for all ages starting in June. A lot of these kids that we will go out and look at and talk about for recruiting will come to our camps, and we'll take a couple of weeks off for vacation, and we'll hit it back again, getting ready and preparing for August the 10th, and next season it'll be here before you know it.
Absolutely. In the meantime, we'll keep you up to date right here on GoBearcats.com, give you a behind-the-scenes look. We're going to talk to Joe Walker next week and find out how they are preparing for off-season training. We'll talk to John Whittakin and hear all about how they prepare for travel and much, much more, including recruiting and everything else as we go through the summer. Coach, as always, we appreciate you taking some time.
Yeah, and I think this will be a good series for people to watch, because most people don't understand what goes on behind the scenes, but just putting together everything to get ready for a season is as hard as getting a team ready. And so Joe Walker and his strength staff have a hard job, and it's every day. It's not just 1 or 2 days. And I think you'll learn something from his talks, and John Whittakin in terms of how we run our offices and our travel and everything that goes around. Greg Bruner, our new recruiting coordinator, he'll explain a little bit about recruiting. Bob Mangine, our trainer, who's trying to get these guys healthy. We had 23 surgeries over the last 9 months on this football team. 23 guys that had to go under and had to have something fixed. And when you have it fixed, it's not ready to go then you have 6 or 7 months of rehab. And so a lot of things go into putting together a team and then keeping the team together as you go through mentally and physically.
All right, Coach, appreciate the time as
always.
All
right, thanks.
That is head coach Tommy Tuberville. I am Tom Gelehrter, wrapping up spring football 2014 right here on GoBearcats.com.